Good afternoon, members. It is 1:21, uh, and good afternoon to the viewing public. And I'll call this Ways and Means budget hearing to order. Before us is the MVA to discuss FY 2024 budget. Uh, Before I proceed on the agenda, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? There has been a motion to adopt today's agenda and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Moving along to item 3. Is there anyone in the gallery that will make a public comment with regards to MVA's budget submittal? Being there's none, before we have the executive director uh, before us, I'd like to introduce our committee. I am Rep. Yumo, Chairman for Ways and Means. To my left, I have the Vice Chair, Representative Blas Attal. And to my right, we have the Vice Speaker member, uh, Vice Speaker Joel Camacho. On the floor, we have our Commerce and Tourism Chairwoman, Representative Julie Ogo. To her left, we have our chairman for SNIOD, member Representative John Paul Sablan. And to his left, we have member of and chairman of Natural Resources, Representative Angelo Camacho. And to his left, we have the chairman for Education and member Representative Manny Castro. To his left, we have our vice chair for SNIOD, Representative Roman Beneventi. Sorry, I just ate lunch. So, and to his left, we have soon-to-be member, Representative Chairwoman of JGO, Representative Marissa Flores. Along across, we have our representative from Precinct 6, our minority leader, member, Representative Patrick San Nicolas, and our new member from Precinct 3, Representative Danita Yang Tamay. Welcome on board. I tell you, it takes time. You gotta pass the test first. So, to her left, we have our chairman for FFA, Representative Vicente Camacho. Along to his left, we have our senior legislative assistant, Ms. Claire Sablan, along with our fiscal analyst, TG, and our counsel, John. And on our IT today, we have Delbert. And with that, Sarge, thank you, Sarge, both Sarge. Uh, please have the members um, and invite your team that would present. Shit, sorry, I already signed. I was gonna sign yours. Is okay. Thank you. I apologize, Chair. Are you already appointed? Is it confirmed already? No, sorry, Executive Director. Yes, okay. Thank you. So you may proceed. Please introduce and if you have opening remarks, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Chairman Yumo, Vice Chairman Ato, Vice Speaker Komatsu, and members of this honorable committee for inviting us here to join you for our budget hearing. Today, we're going to be providing a very brief update on the state of the tourism industry and an overview of our plans for the next fiscal year under our FY24 budget request. But before I begin, I would like to introduce the MVA team that's with us here, and I'll start to my furthest right, our Chief Accountant, Acting Chief Accountant Mary Munya, our Community Projects Manager Martin Dueñas, our Deputy Managing Director Judy Torres, myself, for the record, Chris Concepcion, the Managing Director, And to my left, our acting chairwoman, Gloria Kavanaugh, our newest board member, Sachiko Gerard, and our acting marketing manager, Brenda Repeki. And so that is Team MVA. And to my rear left, we have our PR specialist, Catherine Perry, who handles all the PR and marketing efforts for the MVA. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, if we may, we will just go ahead and go into the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So, in this slide here, you see behind you or in front of you, the MVA, as everybody knows, is an autonomous agency governed by a 9-member board of directors, with 5 members appointed by the governor and 4 members elected by our MVA membership. Our acting chairwoman is Ms. Gloria Kavanaugh of the Elan Group of Companies. Here you can see our 10 divisions funded by our budget. As always, marketing and promotions of the Marianas comprise our largest percentage of expenditures. Community projects handles our annual signature events and membership, and product development handles destination enhancement projects. I'll share highlights of these divisions in our brief presentation today. So the next slide. To put my comments into perspective, let's take a quick look at our visitor arrivals historically since 1978, the birth of our Commonwealth. Our highest arrival levels were in 1997 at about 750,000. In FY19, right before COVID hit, we were at about 425,000, dropping to about 215,000 the year COVID hit, and only 5,000 arrivals in FY21. Last year, we rose to 24,000 arrivals, and so far this fiscal year, we have exceeded 100,000 arrivals as of May. So you can see we're making some solid recovery this year, but we still have a long ways to go. Arrivals are only about 40 to 45% of what they were before the pandemic. So in the next slide, our FY24 budget requests for Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. I want to note that support to other government agencies noted here refers to the municipalities' share of the hotel occupancy tax. Prior to the pandemic, MVA was earmarked under Public Law 18-1 to receive 80% of the hotel occupancy tax collected. During the pandemic, when visitor arrivals dropped, the legislature wisely suspended that earmark to make direct appropriations to keep the MVA operational. For FY24, with visitor arrivals picking up and federal grants given during the pandemic running out, the governor's submission reinstates Public Law 18-1. We fully support this decision so that the MVA can continue its mission to lead the rebuilding of a vibrant tourism economy. On the next slide, one of our key components engaging the health of the tourism industry is air service and air seats. Here, we can see a comparison between our available air seats from our top market of Korea, pre-pandemic compared to today. Korea is recovering well. In FY19, before COVID, we had about 266,000 air seats from Korea. We are very pleased to report that by the end of this fiscal year, we project to recover about 77% of those air seats, so about 205,000. For Japan, we had 19 charter flights by Skymark in FY 2019 and regular flights for the first 4 months of FY 2020. But for this fiscal year, we are projecting 143 flights by United Airlines from Tokyo through the end of August. The continuation of these flights beyond August is under discussion with United, and we'll speak more to that challenge. But as you can see, Japan is recovering steadily, but very slowly. Of course, due to geopolitical concerns, we have 0 flights from China and no immediate plans to pursue that market. However, we are starting to see a few visitors from China arriving via Korea and Japan. Meanwhile, we are seeking federal funding to explore and open new source markets. As a majority of the MVA's budget is always allocated for marketing, I would like to highlight just a few of our top initiatives, again, starting with Korea. The MVA supported a media fam tour in December for the golf program Swing Star in Saipan. From January to April, the show aired 10 episodes about our golf courses. This has generated an estimated $27 million in ad exposure value for the Marianas. You can see why fam tours are a very strategic investment for the MVA. They provide a very profitable return on our investment. Airlines and travel agencies are both essential partners in our marketing efforts. Our recent sales promotions with top travel agencies in Korea targeted specific niche markets like golf, families, honeymoon, and others. This promotion gained us over 17,000 new bookings. Our recent airline promotion with Asiana Airlines, Jeju, and T-Way gained another 5,600 bookings. And the next slide, turning now to Japan. The country has just started encouraging international travel recently, just last month. This is one of the few challenges, the many challenges that we face. Vaccination and COVID test requirements for arriving passengers were lifted just in May last month. As you may know, many Japanese parents chose not to vaccinate their children, so therefore they didn't travel. Japan has a national travel discount program offering discounts to encourage domestic Japanese travel versus overseas. When it started, the discount was about 40% on hotel stays, car rentals, and other travel related uh, activities. It's now at 20% discount. Also, the Japan Association of Travel Agents, JATA, and Japan Tourism Agency have launched their first international campaign. Now is the time to go abroad. So that's happening now. The next slide, you'll see that our major campaigns for Japan include the Mariana-cation promotion, incentivizing customers to choose the Marianas with airport and shopping shuttle, a special package discount, one free round of golf or dive, and booking incentives to the travel agents to sell the destination. We've also had some tremendous media exposure this year through our fam tours with two popular TV shows, $2.8 million with Tabi Salad and another 400,000 with World Summer Resort. Again, these highlights are just a small part of our marketing efforts. Honestly, though, we do have one major challenge that no amount of marketing can overcome, and it's our product. If there's one thing we can do collectively as a government, businesses, and a community, it's really to improve what visitors see when they arrive and get off the plane. So let's face it, many of our government buildings, private properties, our roads, our parks, our businesses, our villages, our tourist sites are just not looking very attractive. Our islands look old and run down, as you can see from these images here before you. And so on the next slide, you can see what our competitors are offering. Clean, attractive downtowns, parks, and attractions, often incorporating nature, which is already a strength of our islands, a place where visitors feel safe and it's just easy to get around and enjoy. We're calling on every agency really to help us and see what they could do to help improve our islands, and not just for tourists, but for our people that live here. On the next slide, at the MVA, we do our part to help make our islands more popular for tourists, make our tourist sites more attractive, safe and comfortable for both visitors and our people. That's through our product development or destination enhancement division. So this fiscal year in Saipan, with the limited funding that we had the Christmas illumination project that lit up Garpan Fishing Base, our roadways with light sculptures. We restarted our Beautify My Marianas program that engages the community to help clean our beaches and other areas. We completed much needed repairs at Banzai Cliff, as you can see there, where missing parts of the guardrail along the cliff line. And we're planning to repaint the cannons and tanks at Last Command Post and are in the process of revitalizing Bird Island Lookout. In Tinian, we maintain 17 sites year-round. This year, we've also reopened Tinian's very own swimming hole located near or alongside Nazareno Beach. We repaired or replaced directional signs. We developed our plant nursery for tree planting around the island. And we granted the Tinian Mayor's Office another extension to complete the Tinian Observation Deck at Carolina's Lookout Point. On the next slide, Rhoda, we're maintaining 16 tourist sites. We've done a lot already this year, but right now we're prioritizing the cleanup from Typhoon Mawar. Earlier, we finished the railing and baluster repairs and the bathroom renovation at the Itentun Bird Sanctuary. Same thing with the bathroom at Swimming Hole. We've also restored water and painted the pavilion. We did some painting at Esnevis Ladystone Quarry, and we're fixing the road to the Sungsung Village Lookout. Looking ahead to next fiscal year, 2024 and beyond, in terms of marketing, we still face a number of challenges in Korea and Japan. The currency exchange rate is really working against us right now. The high value of the US dollar is making destinations like the CNMI much less attractive for visitors from Korea and Japan. They can get more for their money elsewhere in Asia. Interest rates in Korea are up. The cost of operations is higher, especially for airlines who must buy their fuel in US dollars. And realistically, our budget has always been very low compared to competing destinations, forcing us to be very strategic with every dollar that we have. For example, Hawaii Tourism Authority recently spent over $62 million to market just to the west coast of the US. That doesn't even count their budget for Japan or anywhere else in the world. So for next fiscal year, the Guam Visitors Bureau has requested 29 million from their government. So we have major challenges in with our competing destinations. For Japan, we face the same challenge with the exchange rate. We must combat the slow recovery of Japanese outbound travel overall, not just to the Marianas. The Japanese are not traveling outbound in the numbers that everybody in the world hopes. That is a major challenge for us. There really is a real fear of COVID still in Japan. And families with children and seniors are very cautious about traveling overseas. Fewer Japanese have a passport today than they did before the pandemic. It's picking up, but very, very slowly. So it's a very, very difficult situation for the tourism industry. And on the next slide, for next fiscal year, we will continue to commit an overwhelming majority of our budget to marketing and promotions. And I want to reiterate that we always promote all of the islands in the Marianas as a multi-island destination. If we can gain more air seats between the islands, more investment in destination enhancement, more collaboration really with our local operators for more optional tours and activities, we will see more inter-island travel. We have and will continue to target niche markets interested in diving, ecotourism, memorial services, and more. So in other words, there really needs to be further development of inter-island capacity overall. Each island really has its own unique appeal that the MVA highlights, like our recent outdoor signboards, as you can see there, in Seoul and Busan, Korea, late last year, and our outdoor ads and digital ads that increased traffic on our website by almost 2,000%. So it was a very successful program. So destination enhancement, as we've said, is very, very important for us. For FY24 in Saipan, we plan to repair and activate the last command post restroom, paint and remove damaged concrete planter boxes at the Okinawa Peace Memorial, and continue our Beautify My Marianas program. In addition, the governor has requested that the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EDA, to add the MVA as a co-grantee of the $1.4 million economic development grant that we mentioned yesterday's hearing. This is going to give us authority to move projects forward in a timely manner at Bird Island, Last Command Post, and Suicide Cliff. As we all know, construction is getting very much more expensive. So we are concerned about costs, but this is something we need to move forward on. On Tinian, we want to reopen a number of nature trails, the Tachibana Shrine, the Castizu Caves, and enhance the Ginoza Trail and Caves in Tinian, which is a pilgrimage site by members of the Micronesian Repatriation Association. Of course, we need equipment for all that we do there. In Rhoda, we will repair and restore directional signs, replace interpretive signs, repaint several tourist sites, plant more fruit trees and native trees, and repair the Sabana restroom and restore water to it so that it can be used. And another important activity of the MVA that we will continue based on available funding, of course, are annual signature events that tourists look forward to, such as the Taste of the Marianas. You can now buy your tokens online for the first time. Please, everybody, please come and join us this Saturday and the next Saturday. That's a great festival to be at. We have the Hell of the Marianas this December. We're bringing it back. With the Saipan Marathon, we're finally bringing that back next year. The Tinian Hot Pepper Festival and other events. These signature events are organized and promoted to attract visitors, add value to their stay while they're in the Marianas, and attract media attention to our destination. There are also a number of events organized by other agencies and partners that we have, such as the Rhoda Coconut Festival and Bisita Luta. I've already met, or we're planning to meet with the mayors of Rhoda and Tinian to work to schedule and promote these events early for maximum travel from other destinations. We also want to bring back Conquer if possible, as well as the internationally renowned Ironman 70.3 triathlon. We want to be able to host or support all these events next fiscal year. It brings a lot of media attention and a lot of visitors that come to attend these events. But truly, as everybody knows, it all depends on money. It all depends on what we have funding for. Um, so with the next slide, with all of this in mind, we want to again respectfully request the support of the legislature for the reimplementation of 18-1 that again funds the MVA, including our personnel for FY24. And in addition, additionally, in light of the limited hotel occupancy tax that we are anticipating, it is very limited. We respectfully request that the earmarks for the three municipalities and rev and tax, which is a total of 10% of our whole share of the hotel occupancy tax, be suspended in FY24 at least. That, given the tight financial situation that we're in, the suspension of that fully 10% of our share of the hotel occupancy tax is, I think, very timely and very necessary. The MVA, with our expertise in the travel industry, we're the best entity to decide, how those limited funds can be applied very strategically and efficiently under these proposed programs and activities, so that we have a clear and direct benefit for the tourism industry. That's kind of all we have. Thank you for your continued partnership. Suzus Masitu, Chairman and Vice Chairman, members of this committee. Our team and I are here and ready to answer any questions anybody might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Chair. Director, I apologize. I'll open the floor to the members. We can you to our chairwoman from.
Thank you, Chairman Yumo, and welcome back, MVA management and staff and acting director for the board, Gloria. So before we get into further discussion on your budget requests, right now you guys are depending on under the MVA trust funds, correct? To pay for operations, office space, reserve fund. Sorry, yeah.
Yes, we do have a FY 2023 budget that was revised and approved back in April, but we've only received basically $67,000 of the whole fiscal year 2023 funding or appropriation. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, we have been using our reserve funding.
So my next question is the guarantee revenue with the agreement with United. Has that been up to date as far as this invoices is payment is concerned?
Yes, so they bill us every 6 months, and so the first billing was basically I believe they released in April 17th of this year, and we did make payment before May 17th, which was a 30-day net 30.
And that agreement ends in August, correct?
That's correct.
So with that said, I know you guys have shared the challenges with the Japan market. Now, what is the current capacity filled for those seats from with the United? Has it reached at least above 50% or?
On average, and we talked to United about that also. It's averaging about 45%, and that's as of probably April, May. But in June, July, we are seeing an increase, a spike in it. Of course, I would like to say it's from because of the typhoon on Guam, but it really isn't. Guam's doing a lot worse than we are as far as load factors on United. But the interest is there. A lot of it has to do because they finally opened actually Japan where kids can travel. Prior to that, they didn't want kids to travel. So we are seeing the spike and hopefully have a lot better load factors come summertime.
At this point, what is the current balance under the reserve?
Just a moment. I did ask them to bring it. Okay, so what we did was we basically broke it down into three different items because we do have three different funding. We do have a reserve funding for operations, and so the remaining reserve that we have there is about $2.8 million. Okay,
Um,
sorry. And of that, basically, it includes the $1.9 million of building fund that we have reserved for a new building.
in that 2.8 has been
Yes,
deducted
yes.
or inclusive?
It includes the 1.924 of the building fund.
When you say building fund, that's office space.
Yeah, so
Alone?
basically we had set aside this. Actually, Chris can talk to this because Chris is the one that actually did it when he was back there in 2016, 19.
Yes, and actually, for the record, it was actually prior to me, since Perry Tenero's time when he was there. At that time, MVA set aside funding to have its own permanent home. We've been spending so much money on rent, and so
Yes.
the purpose of that building fund is to start to build a building for the MVA so that we stop renting.
So that's still there.
That's
the
still
1.8.
there. It's intact. Thank God. It wasn't spent
Okay.
during COVID, but
So-
it's still there.
So you're not using that 1.9 to
No,
pay
it's
your office
reserved.
space right now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question, I've read your budget or for the budget proposal that you submitted, and you guys stated that you guys have been working with other agencies to secure a public land. Have you guys? There's no mention of DPL in there. Have you guys reached out to them?
Yes, we have. We've met. Judy has met with the DPL team. We haven't gotten a formal designation, but there's agreement that there's some public land in the Garpan area that they're going to, I guess, give a grant of public domain, or I'm not sure the process for DPL to give it from them to us for us to occupy for a permanent office building.
Okay. So my next question is, I know that you guys signed up, just renewed your contract with the space over at Goat Beach Hotel, and it did drop from 12K per month to 8,000, and but same square footage, right? 6,000 square footage. Now my question is, how soon would you guys be, building your new office? Because next year is going to increase by 2% if you guys renew again with the same um, vendor.
That is a very difficult question to answer. I don't think $1.9 million is sufficient in today's construction world. So it's going to take definitely more than a year. The contract with the existing landlord is 1 year, option to renew for 4 more 1 year periods, if I'm not mistaken. And so that gives us some breathing room for us to be able to find alternative, additional sources of funding, hopefully through federal grants that will assist us. And once we start the process, once A&E, the design process goes through, and then we start the construction phase, that should take about 2 years if all goes well. When we're going to start is up in the air. We're still looking for sources of funding.
I'm assuming that 1.9 was based on, I guess, the price from
Way back.
many years ago. So
Yeah.
there is some inflation,
Definitely.
price inflation right now.
Yes, ma'am.
So I understand that MV has been awarded money from CDBGR, DR. Is it something that you can tap in for that? It's not. Okay.
They have really a lot of restrictions on that funding. They actually have a lot of restrictions on activities that are pretty common for the tourism industry that we're not able to use it for. So we're asking for consideration from HUD, Housing and Urban Development, for waivers on that, which we submitted to the NMHC just a few weeks ago. And so we're waiting on them to respond to us whether they're going to allow us to use it. But for a building fund, they pretty much said we could not use it for a building fund.
Can I also get a copy of that
Yep.
from
Yep.
the CDBGR?
Yes, a
Okay.
copy of the request for the waiver.
The
award.
Yes. And that HUD requests on those requirements. that you made a request for regarding the tourism waiver, right? That's under
Yes, we'll share with
contingency.
you a copy of the letter that we requested the waiver for.
That's
And
just a screenshot, yeah.
yeah,
Or
well, no, we
did you
will.
guys submit?
No, I don't. I did not.
No,
So
not from you guys.
a copy of the waiver request letter. Yeah.
Okay, can you please send a copy to my office? And I would like to touch more on that Public Law 18-1, but I just need a few minutes to prepare on that, so I'm going to yield for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Your follow up first, then Rep Manny.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Rep Castro. Just a follow-up question on Rep Ogos. So the CDBG-DR money or any external funds that you guys have received, do you guys have that in liquid cash in your account?
No, we.
It's a
request-
drawdown process.
Yes, we have to request for reimbursement,
Okay. How about
disbursement.
any other outside source that you guys receive?
We do have a TAP grant, technical assistance program grant that will end September 30th. And but that's just to fund our research machines. We use that to replace our scanners as well as develop our data validation program to generate our visitor arrival reports and visitor profile reports. And hopefully with this grant, we're also going to be doing like a dashboard, something new, reports that members as well as the public can take a look at in terms of visitor arrivals.
Okay. And those grant or that TAP grant that you guys had received, was that fully, I guess, given to you guys in liquid cash into
No.
your accounts, or is it one of those application process? Here's
Yes.
a billing, pay
Yes.
for it.
Yes, we finance pays for it for us once we
Okay.
submit all the required documents.
It's kind of unfortunate. You guys have your own accounts and you guys
Yeah.
can actually create your own money. But the $1.9 million executive director, I was wondering, if there's a property in the city of Maya that MVA would be looking at, where would be the best location in you guys' opinion?
Garapan. We need to be in Garapan. The Visitors Authority should be in Garapan, where the tourism, the majority of tourism related facilities are located. So far, they're looking at the Garapan fishing base area. So they're somewhere in that region, but because public lands in that area is pretty limited. So
Okay, what about using the $1.9 million to outright purchase private land? I think that'd be better off with the MVA because you guys can actually use that as leverage when you do build the building, right? You actually own the property. You don't want to deal with public lands because they can always take that away from you guys. Not saying that it's going to happen, but it can happen.
actually, Vice Chair, that thought we have had that discussion actually internally within the team, that there are properties for sale in that area. Most are leased. We're gonna have to purchase the remaining lease period of them, because they already have structures on them, which is good. But I'm gonna sort of back up a little bit, only because I'm just a month into this position and this has been going on for a while, the discussion with DPL. And but it is a consideration that we have discussed, and maybe we should have further discussion on it. Thank you for that suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
If I may, Vice Chair, we've had this discussion basically for about a year, 2 years, but it was always where if DPL had property available, we couldn't go out to private land. That was kind of always what prevented us, because we did see some properties basically in Garapan Core that we would have been able to afford. However, DPL always said that they had some property that was available to us. And so that prevented us from actually going down that road.
It prevented you guys by statute?
It was basically from our legal counsel.
Legal advice from the AG.
Yeah, legal advice from the
Which
AG's
is
office.
probably the same AG that represents DPL, right?
That's the same one.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be because you guys are an autonomous agency. If that's the case that DPL or your legal counsel is giving you that advice, why is CDA allowed to purchase property? So,
Yeah, I don't have any answers to that. We went in circles, and we've been going in circles because the property that we moved from, the rent was very, maybe now half of what we're currently paying. But that lease basically expired. It was the property was subleased or leased to an individual, and then MVA subleased it from them, and so the lessor basically lost the lease. It was already expired, and so we couldn't stay in that building, and so we had to move. And the only other place that was comparable to that price, not the same, but about a little bit more, was way out in the southern part of the island. And we didn't feel that that was conducive, basically, to the Marianas Visitors Authority to be so far away from tourists, basically.
okay, so I mean, can we continue to explore that to purchase outright purchase private land leases? I know there's a couple in the western part of Garapan that are not on lease. They're lots there, and should be if the families are ready to sell it to MVA, then that'll be a better option for MVA. I mean, you're very much involved with the development of Western Garapan, so I think it'll make sense that MVA sits in there. The tourist sites, have those properties been designated to MVA? So why is MVA spending money to? Are you
It's a good question.
are you guys charging DPL for the services? Because if if they left those properties, right, DPL would be obligated to pay zoning for property or infrastructure not being kept up.
I guess the dilemma is, or the issue is, yeah, we don't have any rights. We don't own the land. We've never been designated the properties in Marpi. But when the properties become dilapidated and the tourists start complaining and it becomes an issue for the tourism industry, they come to the MVA.
It's an
And
MVA issue.
we are all of a sudden right in the middle of it and somehow seen as being responsible, even though we have no legal authority to do anything there. But we can't just leave it. We can't wait on anybody to. We're kind of the fastest to jump in and try to solve the problem, rather than wait for other agencies.
Okay. Well, right now in the 2024 budget, DPL is actually paying for Parks and Rec employees for maintenance, right? Why don't MVA start billing DPL for the upkeep of the properties?
Why doesn't MVA bill
Yeah.
them? I
But would MVA? I think you guys should consider doing that. You guys are spending your money
Right.
to upkeep public lands, but yet they're using their money to pay for the maintenance of the grounds, while you guys are spending more money in the infrastructure.
Yeah. And for the record, we're actually even providing supplies to Parks and Recs even today. We are giving them fuel and supplies for the mowers and bush cutters that are maintaining the sites in Marpi. The restroom, we are paying for the water at the restroom at Grotto. Same situation in Tinen and Rhoda. It's just nobody's doing it, so we have to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So would MVA be in support of the legislation by Rep Benavente and putting like a toll station in there so we can charge the tourists that go through there, and you guys can split the money? This will actually address uh, Parks and Rec situation with their manpower, fuel, and for maintenance purposes, and assist MVA in actually paying for that for all the upkeeps on the other tour sites. I think you'd make enough money in a fiscal year to be able to address all the other tourist sites that you have.
We are familiar with the bill that Representative Benavente introduced. We do note, though, that it does not mention MVA as a recipient of the. It mentions Parks and Recs, DPL, all these other agencies. I don't recall that it said anything about.
Oh, and we
MVA.
can include MVA.
Okay.
The bill's not done. It was
And I won't. I'm not gonna. I really. We haven't discussed it internally yet. I don't know if the board of directors has mentioned it in any board meeting while I was not there. we've only had one board meeting since I came on board, and we didn't discuss it yet. So I don't know, and I will refrain from commenting whether we're in support or against the bill at this time.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Sorry, Chair, we're still the, but Spencer and Karoma. So how many accounts do you guys have? MVA accounts.
We have an account at Bank of Hawaii, Bank of Guam.
So you guys only have two separate accounts. Yes? Revolving accounts.
Three?
Yeah, we actually have three accounts. Let's see, four accounts. So we have two at Bank of Guam and two at Bank of Hawaii. But we break it down into like general fund, a fund for membership and other revenue that we collect. We have a payroll account that we transfer to, and then what is that one kind of like big catch-all account that
Okay.
we transfer from.
How
So I
much?
think in the past, basically, it's gone to that account in Bank of Guam, and then we transfer to operations.
Okay. How much in each account? Revolving account. Sorry, I don't want to touch your operations or your personnel, but just revolving account.
Okay, wait, are you talking about the master account?
Whatever you guys consider
Okay.
your revolving account.
Hold on. Okay, so the big account I think that everyone is actually saying, hey, I know, is about $9.2 million. And that account is basically money from the past appropriations that we haven't spent, money from the HUT prior years that we haven't spent. It also includes the reserve funds, and it includes a portion of the ARPA funding that has not been paid out yet. But the majority of it is allocated, with exception of about 249,000.
Vice, you're referring to the $1.1 million
I guess
revolving
it's
account?
more on your revolving account, like your memberships, your whatever
Yes.
statute that gave you guys additional revolving accounts to assist MVA. That doesn't go to the
Yes.
general fund.
For the operations, they're asking for the dollar amount, 1.1 million, and then 400,000 for the
General fund.
general fund, 152,000 for payroll, and then for membership is 85,000.
Okay, those are all in interest bearing accounts.
No,
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 no.
those are all in checking accounts.
really. You guys don't want to consider putting them in interest bearing?
Yes, we do.
I'm just trying to make sure that these guys don't touch your money, and then at least the interest part.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I yield my time for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair, Rep Manny, and then Rep Benavente.
Thanks, Chair. And welcome, Director and board members. The data that showed air seats, was that referring to seats that were occupied or just a supply of seats? Okay. So in the future, if we can include a comparison between the supply and then what is actually occupied, so we see the real numbers. It's there. So those are air seats, and then so all of those seats were filled with bodies.
No, sir, no. That no. These are just the recovery percentages. Yeah, okay. We'll include that next. When it comes to load factor, basically for the Korean market, they've been averaging about 90%. For this month, it's over 95%. So right now there is no. I think Jeju is going to be running a third daily flight from June 29th to July 19th in order to uh, support the demand that is there. But as far as the Korean flights go, they've been extremely healthy.
I
But we'll include that next time.
I verified that
Yeah.
on both Kiwei and Jeju.
Yes.
So I just wanted to, because that helps. Um, the other thing I was gonna ask is, can you go back to that slide with all the dilapidated buildings and blighted properties? Yeah. Um, if MVA can look into rehab, for that 1.9 million, investing in one of, a building, it doesn't have to be one of those, but that building in Tanapak looks pretty structurally sound. Just needs a facelift. Then you're gonna be killing two birds with one stone, but and then you can just have a satellite office in Garapan. But 1.9 million can go a long ways if you rehab an existing structure. Then you don't have to worry about zoning because it's just a renovation, and you can get your building within the year. Just some food for thought. Uh, you can also look into a historical structure. There's several at the airport or others. I mean, I know that's yeah, but just additional options for you guys. In regards to the toll booth that was mentioned earlier, I mean, I know there's some businesses that are not, especially those in the tourism industry, that maybe not in favor of that, but as a tourist, when I visit other countries, that's standard practice, right? If you visit Palau, there's a fee for each location, whether it's Milky Way or all these tourist sites. If you go to Korea, you can pay for the Discover Seoul Pass. We don't have to think of it like a actual toll booth where the guard is there and all, but it can be like a scanner, but you kill two birds with one stone. One, you're collecting revenue, which will help with maintaining the facilities. Two, you're providing. It can be an extension of MVA, like an office, an outpost, because up there in the north, there's hardly any security up there. I know MVA is paying for one security, but there's a lot of sites. There's a lot of robberies and things that go on, and by having a more visible presence, it can be like kind of like a joint operations outpost between DPS, MVA, or whoever. But thank you, Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Rep Castro. Rep Beneventi, then Rep Flores.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman and Director and members. Welcome and thank you for being here and sharing things with you guys with regards to the budget request and everything that you have on your plate. I'm very glad that you folks are very adamant in moving forward as far as, you know, making sure that our tourist industry starts. I mean, to bring back the tourist industry as compared to the past and now. I know it's a challenge right now. It's a very much challenge because our fiscal capacity in the cinema is really low, and tourist is one of the number one breadwinner here in Saipa in the cinema. So I was looking at in a community standpoint of view. I was watching all the slides that you were hearing out, and I see all those blighted areas and dilapidated stuff that we have out in the community. And I would take another. I would take another course with what Manny has mentioned. Um, with the one CDBG DR 1.9 million dollars grant, uh, I don't know what are the do's and don'ts or the restrictions that the grant might entail, but if such if such funding is available, to try to clean up the community and try to uplift the quality of our island based with based from the effort of MBA and the grant that is in place, I think it would be very beneficial for everybody and it would enhance more tourists to come over because we're building our structure and we're building our capacity at the same time. Uh, with the same token, that's what, and I'm not against what Congressman Castro has mentioned, but with regards to the tourists, the MARPI, for example, I know you folks do not have jurisdiction over the land, the sites, and everything. It's DPL and uh, DLNR are involved, Parks and Recreations, and just like what has the Vice Speaker has mentioned. I mean, yeah, the Vice Speaker, the Vice Chairman has mentioned um, that you know it's it could be MBA can be included in the bill that was introduced. And the reason for that bill is that they introduced that bill to have a toll fee is that uh, it will prevent safety. It's safety really for the tourists. So in that way, we maintain our reputation as a site, as a visiting site here on the CNMI. On top of that, you know, um, I don't know if you guys recall that charging the tourists, as far as my research is concerned, because I've done some backtracking on this, as far as uh, charging tourists the landing fee, for example, coming into Saipan, landing on Saipan, and to be charged almost like Palau. Uh, it was discouraged because of the fact that we are receiving federal funds from the airport, from the Ports Authority. And that was the main reason why we could not impose fees coming into to. But what really what really irks me is that it does not limit tour agencies who sell packages in their country to come over and to make the tour their tour guide. They establish a tour guide. They buy buses. They buy all kinds of tour agency stuff, and they charge the fees over there. The money stays there. You don't come to the cinema, and that's the challenge that we are facing, and that is the reason why I was I pushed myself to try to introduce that bill, and I'm not giving out on that bill because I'm still recommending that DLNR, DPL, and MBA and Parks and Recreation would probably meet together and come to an amicable solution of memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, so we can move forward, all together to accomplish this type of move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Thank you,
and thank
Rep
you guys.
Benavente. Rep Marissa, then Rep.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
I just wanted to, if I may, Chair, sorry, Representative. Um, I know that in the past, you had proposed a toll for Grotto. And I believe at that point in time that MVA had issued a letter of support for that. When it comes to the toll booth, I think that we just haven't had it presented to the board and with recommendations from management yet. But it's something that definitely by our next meeting will probably be presented to the board. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Good
Thank-
Chairman, are you?
Thank you. Sorry, Rep. Benaventi. Thank you, Chair. So I think I just have maybe like three. I'm not going to take up a lot of time. But one of my biggest concerns has always been the rate from United. Always such a big concern to me. Being that we're in a very remote area, there has to be a lot of understanding between the federal government and what happens when we're so isolated in middle of the Pacific Ocean, trying to be self-sustainable in regards to tourism. So the Department of State has a part of, I guess, in their umbrella of duties, and it's called the Open Skies Agreement. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the Open Skies Agreement is actually a negotiating body for countries, right? But when you're looking at Saipan, and we're part of the United States, but our covenant allows us to be sovereign. Okay, so part of this Open Skies agreement, they have a commission that's embodied, that has about, I guess, 53 people involved throughout the United States and other countries in the world. So the Open Skies regulations covers the territory over which parties exercise sovereignty, including mainland, which are all these other countries like New Zealand, what have you, islands, and internal and territorial waters. The treaty specifies that the entire territory of a member state is open to observation, right? So that means they can fly over and do whatever it is that they want to do. But we have the negotiating power to actually go into these agreements with other carriers outside of United Airlines. I don't understand why we continue to conduct business with only one air service provider when there are providers outside of the United States and that can fly in from the other way, straight into our site. They can fly from the United States where it's cheaper to fly into, let's say, Korea, and then Korea fly into here. So I just don't understand why we keep going this way when it's so costly for someone even from the United States to come this way, right? And then if we want to increase the Japan market, right? You have people going to Japan now. I mean, I'm sorry, the millennials don't come here to travel. Let's face it, you're looking at like baby boomers, you know? I mean, really, that's, but they come here for historical value. They come here for the history that's involved in that. They don't come here to spend money. I don't think they do. I mean, honestly, I really don't think they spend as much money. Millennials have the buying power. So when they travel, they want to travel to like Paris. They want to travel to some place that has these amenities, which I totally support where you're going with taking over with the projects that are owned by DPL. I get it, right? I understand that's all part of the big plan. But can we please figure out a way to have these negotiations and these conversations with the other side of the world?
Um, if I may, thank you very much for that. That's something that basically we have been trying to do, which is in 2019, just for a short period of time, we actually had SkyMart, and SkyMart basically, uh, you know, um, uh, we were the first international destination for them to travel, and then COVID happened, and that's where we are stuck. And believe us, it wasn't our intention, and nor did we go out for just United. We actually had tried to go out for other airlines also.
Okay, so my next question is, right now at this state, where are you at in terms of this?
United.
No, what you were saying about the open skies, and where are
Okay.
you at now?
I mean, so basically, we didn't have any interest. The only interest we did have going back, and we did go back as recent as April with the governor, is SkyMart, and
Mhm.
SkyMart is still very interested. They are interested in the possibility of doing charters,
Mhm.
which is a different kind of.
That demon in
Yes,
itself.
yeah. What we need is regular flights.
Mhm.
They just announced that they are healthy. finally, that coming out of COVID, they are showing profits. But they had told us that they are interested, but it's going to take probably until 2025, the beginning of year 2025, in order for them to restart international flights. Meanwhile, the other airline from Japan that has all of its ETOPS and is ready to fly is Zip, which I believe is an LCC from, is it JAL? From JAL. They are able to fly into the U.S. They fly into, I think, Hawaii and San Francisco. But right now, they're not interested in actually talking to us. They're just
Okay.
starting out.
So I guess in terms of thinking out of the box, right? Our closest allies are, or our closest neighbors would be people from FSM and, let's face it, Palau.
Mhm.
Right? Palau, you have this insurge of tourists. They just go there for everything, the beautiful waters and what have you. I'm not sure what their market looks like as far as tourism coming in, but I'm sure they capture a lot of people from Australia. And I'm sure
Right,
they.
right now they just started their direct flights to Australia
Mhm.
in February, and it's a once a week flight that the uh, ambassador
Right.
basically worked on, and that's Air Niugini. We
Mhm.
do want to go out. What we're looking for basically is an expert on airlines that would actually go out and look at the possibility of working with the ambassador, because the
Mhm.
ambassador is not just for Palau, but it's for this area.
I
And
understand.
so we are looking into that also.
Okay.
With Korea, of course, Korea, we're mostly LCCs. We did have Jin Air at one time,
Mhm.
but Jin Air, pulled out. The only problem with Jeju, like Jeju, we can fly Korean Airlines and they go to the mainland.
Mhm.
Is it's called a cabotage.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, and
Right.
so it makes it very difficult. I can actually book using Jeju
Mhm.
under United, but I would
Mhm.
have to use under United in order to actually book all the way to the
And
mainland.
again, right?
Yeah.
There are still, what I'm saying is, there's nothing that's set in stone. We still have the negotiating power to create these opportunities so that when you're talking about increasing tourism, it becomes affordable, not only for United States travelers this way or Japan that way. You're talking about worldwide.
Yeah.
If that encompasses coming in into a collaborative agreement or an open skies agreement, that's great.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what we want to do is make sure that tourism is our biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean,
But
what,
let's not just concentrate on Korea, Asia Pacific.
I mean, once we actually get, because we are looking into the possibility of getting this airline expert that can go out and actually find, and hopefully it's in collaboration with CPA, but actually find,
That was
yeah,
my next question.
yeah,
Okay,
you
so
know,
are you going to hire this expert through grants or appropriation?
we're actually looking just at the possibility. There was a name that was thrown out by the administration. I don't even remember who it was or what was the name, but
What
we don't know
need
yet.
to do is, so airlines will come here if
Mhm.
there's demand, right? That it's a bottom line is their business, so they're here to make money. And if they're not making money here, they're not going to come here. So what we need to do is improve our product here, really,
I get
and
it.
that's how you build demand. Palau is a different story. Palau's
I
got
know.
Taiwan as a source market. We don't
Mhm.
have that. They have direct
Mhm.
flights. But in overall, in the grand scheme of things, their numbers are very minuscule compared to what the CNMI and Guam, for that matter,
Mhm.
generate. Right? They get less than a third of the
Mhm.
amount of tourists that we get. So it's a competing destination, but our our younger cousin kind of thing.
Mhm.
The flights from Australia are actually a stopover. It goes Australia,
Yes.
New Guinea, Papua New Guinea,
Mhm.
Palau. It's not direct flight.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually
yeah.
looking at it through here, and I'm looking at the map and how they fly in
Yeah.
to those certain
So
points.
so those options are there, and Chair mentioned the ambassador of Australia that's
Australia.
based in
Right.
Palau, who I think made it up to Guam, right?
She made it here also. We
Or
met
made
with
it
her.
here too.
Mhm.
So those are options for us.
We just don't want to close the box, right?
Absolutely, I agree.
And we're thinking forward now. We're thinking 10 years,
Yeah, and
right?
some of that CBDGDR funding that we got is gonna allow us to
Okay.
market to outside of Japan and Korea.
Okay. All right. So I yield on those questions, but I do have a question on grants. So I know that you were talking about the possibility of taking care of some, or you actually take care of a lot of these locations that are frequented by the tourists, right? And there's some legislation that will allow you some autonomy to control some of that, right? So the SCORP grant, I don't know what the acronym for this is, but the Tinian Lookout Point, okay, they have about 500,000 of rehabilitative money. They haven't spent anything yet. So my suggestion would probably reach out to grants management and the mayor and see how you guys can, tap into that as collaborative partners. Okay? Sure.
This is actually an old project from when I was back at MVA in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
with the prior mayor of Tinian, St. Nicholas, that we
Mhm.
had an MOU signed between us and the
Mhm.
mayor's office,
Mhm.
and it was a collaborative effort. It was
Mhm.
we put in our share, and then they put in their share.
Mhm.
We did put in our share,
Mhm.
and it's sitting somewhere. I
Well,
hope.
one, this is, and again, right? It's still there. It's still being
I
recorded
hope so.
as
Okay.
money that the grants management has. So why don't you try?
Grants management? It was directly from MVA to the mayor.
Okay, well, I got this list from grants management. So
Oh.
grants management is counting it in their books.
Okay.
So double check,
Yeah.
because that's money that you guys can possibly, use. But you, again, it's creative, right? You guys got to figure out what's best going to work for the tourists and how you guys want to best meet your mission. And then the Bonsai Cliff Memorial Park, okay, 0% used. That's $2 million. Bonsai Cliff Memorial Park.
That is Office of Grants Management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's $2 million that you can tap in there also.
We are, I'm not going to speak for them, but our last communication we had with them, we are in full support of this project. We need it for Banzai Cliff. The last communication we had with the director of that office was that they are waiting on HPO clearance before they move.
And
I
again,
don't know
right?
what it is, but
But this is where your collaborative partnership can come in, right? I don't know
Right.
how, but just sit down and try
we
to
have worked
have
with
the
them.
discussion
Yes.
again, right?
Yes.
Because that's $2 million.
And
That-
actually, we need more. But
I
yeah.
understand. But if you're looking at that, Mr. Conception, correct?
Right.
Sorry. And you look at those numbers, right? These are numbers that are already here. There's money here.
Right.
Okay. How you guys want to tap into that? That's up to you, but it's here.
Yes. We have to collaborate with them.
Hmm. And then you have the House of Taga Restoration and Preservation Project. That's also TAP, and that's 169,000. They've only used. Oh, I'm sorry. There's nothing left. I guess that's been restored. Uh, and then the Federal Grants Enhancement Program. I'm not sure what that is, but if you can actually see if you can avail of something from there, there's still $1 million left.
It sounds like we definitely need OGM at the table.
Oh, of course, yes.
Right.
Yeah. But again, right, when I had spoken with Epi, he's also interested in working with the agencies. Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, but if our office, my office, or this committee can help you set up that meeting so that we can get, some kind of dialogue and some type of collaborative MOU or partnership going on, great, because that's a lot of money that needs to be spent. Okay. Thank you, Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Rep. Flores. Rep. Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and uh, good afternoon, Director and your team. Um, you mentioned earlier in your presentation that your office and the governor's office are trying to get in a tune of 1.4 from the EDA grants. No, um, how flexible is this money? If you should you be successful in getting this 1.4, what are the uses that this money can be used for?
So thank you, Chairman. It's a 1.4 million grant from $1.4 million grant from EDA to OPD, to the Office of Planning and Development. So the plan is to add MVA as a co-recipient, a co-grantee, so that we can administer the grant. We can use it for construction, for A&E design and construction. And so the plan that was submitted to EDA is to use it to renovate Bird Island, Suicide Cliff, and a brand new restroom at Last Command Post. It's not a lot of money, so we can't. We're trying to just kind of keep within what we can, our estimates. But that's been submitted to EDA, and it's with their review right now.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. When your office markets are Commonwealth outside our islands, we're not just marketing our resources, our waters. We're also marketing our culture and our food. Is that correct? And then when these tourists come here to our Commonwealth, we're are we really providing those cultural traditions here in Ireland? I hope that what we promote outside is what we show when we come here. We don't, because some of these tourists, they see all those Tahitian dance already when they went to Hawaii or whatnot. I hope that whatever we market out there is what we give back or show. You want to speak on that?
Um, Completely agree. Cultural tourism is a very important part of the travel experience. The MVA's goal is really to market the destination, and then when they get here, we're our hands are sort of tied, right? We're not a business, so we can't control what happens at Crown Plaza or the other businesses. We can encourage them to start swaying away from Polynesian dances and start promoting Micronesian dances, and we've done that. But we can't. We can't force a private business to do something that is not what in their interest. So we agree. We do our part. We have our own cultural festivals that we host throughout the island, all the three islands throughout the year. And we do bring them when they come, and Brenda leads that effort. But we do bring them to cultural sort of workshops, if you will. Yeah, where they have like private little handicrafts, arts and crafts making events. That's paid for by us. So we do small things here and there, but we do agree we need to have a concerted effort from all the stakeholders to sort of get this whole Chamorro Carolinian cultural thing going.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yep.
I hope that your office would put more emphasis and more efforts on that. So my last question would be: does MVA have any survey for outgoing tourists, so that so that we can kind of gauge how their experience when they were here for a week or for 3 days? Do you guys do surveys for outgoing tourists so that we can kind of gauge their experience? And if not, can we start a program from MVA so that we can really understand what the experience of this tourism when they come here?
Agreed. I agree, Congressman. We used to. We don't do it today, but we used to. I recall when I was at MV a few years ago, we had exit surveys that we were doing. I know that it kind of stopped in the middle of COVID, and it is something that we are looking at into now. And actually, maybe our chair can speak to it, but we're working with the HandMe group on doing exit surveys at the airport. I mean, at the hotels, and maybe,
Yeah, we're supposed to meet basically with the chairperson of HandMe, which is right now Ivan Katutsu, who is also on our board of directors of MVA. We had discussed briefly as to trying to get some technology. And it's not very expensive, but some technology where they can actually do it on their a mobile app, and and do it and turn it in basically at the hotel, and it goes, all the data, raw data, goes into basically one data bank, and that all of us are able to actually use it. It makes sense to do it on the hotel side, because the hotel, typically they would say, okay, you can win something, for instance, if you take the time to fill these in. So it's still in the planning stages to try to go back to that. We don't want to do the paper. We want to do something that is more efficient as far as time goes, and that can actually go into an electronic data bank. So it is in the works, and it's not going to take just MVA to do it. Hopefully this time we'll also have the Hotel Association to work with us.
Thank you for the response. I'm glad that you guys are looking into it. I yield for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Sablan. Rep. Julie.
Thank you, Chair. So Right now, NVA has how many revolving accounts? You have or four. You have the hot, one of them. Uh, oh, they did. So I thought they just suspended.
From what I remember, and is that they had an account that actually was owned by finance, and that it would go into this account, and then from there we would be able to draw it back down into our
I
operations
see. So
account.
it's
Yeah,
not in NVA's account.
that's right. That's
Okay,
right.
so with
We
finance.
we actually had $8,000, $8,150 that we had to write off because that was supposed to be in that account.
I see. So
Yeah.
it's with finance right now.
Yes,
But
I believe they have closed it.
Oh, I see. So,
Yeah.
so where is the funds from the occupancy tax going to, if it's closed?
Right now, it was suspended basically since yeah. Yeah, so
Still, but with the finance.
they will open another account, and it will basically go into our operations account on a monthly basis.
Okay, okay, all right. Um, I know there's so many issues with a lot of tourist sites as far as structural, um, dilapidations, and rundown tourist sites, especially in Rhoda. I mean, I see the point of lifting that suspension because I guess for almost 3 years now, I'm not sure if finance has remitted or MV has remitted that 300,000 or 2% of that. And I urge if the House or the Ways and Means and especially the administration to take a look at that, because the longer that we hold back that remittance of that funds, the costly it will be to repair and uh, repair or maintain those tourist sites. So my other question, I'm just curious actually, when's the last time that NVA, like yourself, acting chair, and maybe before you were in here in the MVA position now, when's the last time that you visited Rhoda's tourist sites?
It was basically, I think, prior to COVID.
COVID.
But we did have our what is that, management and our product development from MVA just visit them just a month or so ago.
Well, we were supposed to go the week of the typhoon,
Yeah.
but we're actually going on Tuesday.
But please do revisit again.
Totally.
There's a lot of issues, and then I know that Tinian have the military, personnel's presence, and they're very fortunate that they
I
are
know.
getting a lot of help,
Economic activity, yeah.
maintaining, repairing those tourist sites. So, Rhoda is in dire need of that, and then on top of that, I know that money is also helping subsidize the airfare between the islands, and it's very critical that those those fundings will be remitted as soon as possible. So I hope that will be available. If not this year, then at least in the 2024 budget.
Yeah, I mean, we just came back from Korea, and one of actually the largest tour agent in Korea is called Hana Tours, and they're very interested in actually doing. Very interested in Rhoda, and so they want to do special, only Hana Tour type packages for Rhoda, and so yeah, and so we're trying to get all the information together, and Chris has been busy since he gotten back, but with this budget hearing, but he has to reach out basically to the partners in Rhoda, to our office, hopefully to the mayor and to all of the businesses there, to get in touch with, give them basically the contact for Hana Tours who want to put together this package as soon as possible. So that we need to do something with Rhoda. We need to make sure that it gets some love, and we also need to basically address the airline situation with Rhoda, because it's so expensive, and that's one thing that they did mention, that the price is very, 263 or something like that. It's very cost prohibitive, but they are very dedicated in trying to put together this special package to sell, and they are number one in Korea. So that was a very good announcement to us when we went there.
Okay. I know there are about over 10, probably 10 sites in Rhoda that NVA and mayor's
16.
office are, or yeah, over 10,
16, yeah.
10, yeah. Mayor's office in collaboration with NVA. But it's funny how, the sites that you've mentioned have been completed on let's say a repair on it or maintenance. But if you are there, if you're to visit that locations now, for example, the swimming hole, there's only a water tank. The last time I was there was only a couple of weeks ago, and there was no water. And you mentioned in your report that that has been taken care of. We need a running water 24/7 there, you know. And then also the sugar cane mill. Yeah, go ahead.
That Martin was mentioning, they did, yeah, during Typhoon Mawar, they borrowed our water tank. DPW borrowed the water buffalo that we used to refill temporarily to
Mm.
take care of the emergency situation, but we should have it back already, and we'll take care of it when we
Okay.
get there on Tuesday.
I know that today's budget is a budget hearing, so I'll reserve some of my questions. Maybe we'll bring back, you know, uh, your agency back into our committee under Commerce and Tourism. So thank you. Are you for now?
Thank you, Rep. Julie, Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Managing Director Chris and Ms. Cavanaugh and your MVA team. I just had a quick question. I know we've kind of overheard that Guam is making a shift into trying to maybe bring in a new tourist market in Philippines. Are you guys aware of that?
Yes, we're aware of the efforts to add the Philippines on into the CNMI Guam visa waiver program so that they can come into the CNMI Guam without a visa.
Also,
We're
that's
aware
a
of
USCIS issue, a
Yes.
congressional issue.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and may I ask maybe like what is the potential behind that market?
At least between Guam and Manila, there are multiple flights daily. And so I'm pretty sure that they think that they can see a lot of tourist traffic that are going to come from the Philippines to Guam. A little bit different for CNMI. We don't have direct flights, and even to get from Guam to the CNMI, it's $580. So I don't know if that's really a real realistic market for us. We won't give it up. I mean, if they're going to add it in, we are going to be included. CNMI and Guam will have the same visa waiver program. But, I don't know, and maybe the team can speak to it. The potential is very limited compared to other markets in that area, but it's something that we will keep on our radar.
Thank you for that. And the next question is, have you guys by chance ever worked with CEDA or have ever conducted maybe like a survey for tourists or visitors that are exiting the CNMI? And maybe in that survey, how was your experience? What do you feel like we need here? Because I know that you're saying that we need to invest in our product, but exactly what is it that in their perspective, what they want to see, the amenities here?
Thank you. Yes. I think Congressman John Pom actually asked us a similar question. We did used to do exit surveys, and we will do exit surveys again through our partnership with HandMe, so that we can capture that feedback. It's actually pretty valuable feedback, right? When we ask them, are you satisfied with the destination? What attractions did you visit? What would you like to see? Any negative and positive reviews? That's something that's necessary for us in order to improve our product. But it's something that we will work on this year.
Thank you for that. My last question is, um, do you actually collaborate, maybe work hand in hand with CEDA? Because like one of the things that we keep hearing between us and Guam is when visitors come here, like they don't have that much amenities such as like malls and stuff. So we're competing essentially, or in essence, with the same Korean market, the same Southeast Asian market, and we don't even have like malls or anything like that to compete with. So have you guys? I know you guys are not an agency that uh, that tries to get developers in, because I think that's a job of CEDA, right? A Commonwealth Economic Development Agency, but like maybe working with them.
I haven't had the opportunity since I've been back to work with CETA, but I do understand they have a new business development manager that is supposed to be looking out for investment perspectives throughout our region. And we do know that when we go out personally as MVA, like when on our recent trip to Korea, one of the biggest things that we mentioned to all the partners was that we invite you to come in also as investors, not just as tourists or tour operators, but to fill the void that we have here with regards to activities and amenities like shopping centers and different sort of attractions that are good for families. And because we're primarily a family destination, which is a good thing, it means we're a safe destination. But also for young adults, and then like the millennials, like Congresswoman Flores mentioned, we want to attract that market as well. And they need new attractions. They need something new, something fresh. And we think that working with CETA is probably something that we should reach out to and see if there's any opportunities for maybe some trade conference that we can do online and have our MVA offices in Korea and Japan invite people to attend. We know that we've met with the U.S. Embassy in Korea and Japan. Both have offered to host events for CNMI if CETA was to be interested in going up and having an investment conference where investors are invited and then they can pitch the CNMI as a place to do your investments, inform them of the different tax breaks, tax incentives that are available here in CNMI. That's really a CETA thing. We don't want to get in the middle of it, but it's something that we want to encourage and support.
Thank you, Director, and my apologies, Mr. Chairman, for asking non-budget related questions. You.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Any further? Rep Camacho.
Welcome, everybody. One quick question: the construction out at the Paseo, how is that gonna affect our tourists?
Thank you for that question, Congressman Komatsu. It's going to affect the tourism industry in a very positive way. Eventually, when it's done. I know it's taking it a while, and it's technically still under the jurisdiction of Office of Planning and Development. However, because of my involvement prior, I still keep an eye on it just to make sure that things are going, because it affects the tourism industry in a direct impact. We think that the goal behind opening that up was because the businesses in the area have been complaining about that their businesses basically dying over the years, and we can see it. A lot of empty buildings, empty spaces. The ones that are still there are like hanging by a thread. They're barely making it, and so their number one request when we met with them prior to COVID and even during COVID was, please open Paseo de Marianas and allow traffic to come in. So as a compromise, the design was a hybrid design, so it's open to vehicular traffic, but it's designed so that you can shut it down in case there's festivals or community events that are going to happen. And the design for that particular street is the sidewalks are wider. There's stone pavers so that it stands out amongst the street, because historically it's been the main street in Garapan. And so those are the kind of things that went into the design process for it. And we do think that it's going to have a very positive impact on the tourism industry once it's ready and the businesses start coming back and there's more attractions. Hopefully the private property owners start improving their property once they see all these really nice improvements that the government is making right outside their door. So we hope that and maybe that needs enforcement. Maybe the blighted building law needs to be enforced here in Saipan, because it is a problem, as you saw in those photos.
Within that area, the only bar I go to is the Smile Bar, because that's the only one right there on the sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep Camacho. Yeah, I remember that old street back in the days. Any further? Yeah, sure.
Are you addressing me, sir? Addressing me to speak? Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. I just want to ask one question, follow-up question from his question, and then I'm going to get to my closing. So whose wise idea was that to shut it down in the first place? Yeah.
It's been over 20 years, so I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know who was in charge 20 years ago.
So it almost seems like we closed it down, right? Because it's an experiment and only to go backwards again and just do what it was meant to do in the beginning. So, that's a lot of money again wasted, right? We just wasted all that money. So thank you for, thinking outside of the box, and thank you for coming. We really want to support this endeavor. We believe that tourism is very important. So if there's anything we can do as a committee, we know that the public also has to do its share in taking care of these facilities, respecting the environment, and being culturally involved, and promoting our culture. I mean, I think that's important. So I guess we'll all do the Great Commonwealth Challenge and promote and protect our environment and promote our culture more than we've ever done before. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rep Flores. Just few couple more questions. With regards to just an okay before I reckon. With regards to, I understand the administration attended a few of the trips to Japan and Korea. Can you update on us on what the administration and MVA committed during the two trips out to those markets, if
Honestly, it
any?
was, yeah, no hard commitments on anything really. It was more of a courtesy meeting really, because this is the first trip for the governor as the governor to Korea and Japan, and it was my first trip to Korea as the managing director. It was really to sort of reaffirm our ties and ask for continued support on their side, and the trips turned out very positive, especially with Korea. They announced increase in flights. All three airlines announced increase in flights throughout the next few months, and following going forward afterwards, depending on how well the flights do. That's pretty much it. I don't know if Chair wants to add something.
Yeah, I mean, as far as commitments, we were asked, about subsidies and all this and that, and we basically told them that what we're here for is we're committed to bring in our stakeholders and our partners to work together in order to fill the planes so that they will be able to have a healthy business and we will be able to have a healthy tourism economy. As far as ARPA money or trip program like we did in the past, that we are unable to sustain that, and that we need to work more on the destination and the product itself in order to fill in the demand. So that's, other than that, there was no promises. It was just we promised to cooperate and try to bring everyone to the table and work together in order to sell our destination.
Okay, thank you for that update. With regards to the hotel tax, there has been discussion among members to suspend the hotel tax, just so that the Marianas can be competitive with respect to Guam and some other markets. Is that something the hotel or no? No, meaning to suspend 18-1. I'm sorry. Reinstate, no, to no, the taxes, no, the tax are still being collected at 15%, right? Yeah, so to reverse it back where they pay 11%. This is for the so that the hotel can compete in the outside market. No discussion were made, no support. I understand it's a budget that's used for MVA, but I also understand that hotels are struggling right now because the rooms are not being filled. So if we were to revisit 18-1, meaning to go back to the repeal and reenact, no, or suspend that portion where we collect 15% back down to 11%, I believe at the time. The on record or off record? Okay. Just talk because we want the CNMI to be competitive.
Yeah,
In
and
the
we
market.
understand that. I believe that you were actually Ways and Means Committee when chair at that time when
Yes.
when Hanmi actually came here to raise it. And so we were unaware that Hanmi was even talking about that.
No, Hanmi wasn't talking about that at this point. I'm just saying that there is some discussions as far as how to make the cinema more competitive out there, because we have Guam that has more advanced destination versus a cinema, and where our price range is pretty much the same. So that's something that we did discuss, not with the whole members, but some of us. So, but that I just want to hear a feedback. So if that's something that's not we're not ready for that, then we don't have to continue.
Yeah, I mean, if we think back to 2013 when this was basically enacted, the MVA had and even the legislature had basically tried to find multiple ways in order to raise money and give funding to MVA. Because at that point, I believe that the budget was $3 million, but it was in arrears for a couple of years. So there was a time where the offshore offices weren't even paid for more than a year. They did, I believe it was Congressman Roman Beneventi who had mentioned as far as the tax that you would collect at the airport, but because we are under FAA, that they couldn't do that. And so that was one of the ways that they tried to get money and raise taxes in order to give it to fund MVA. And so the raising of the HUT, the hotel occupancy tax, was basically the idea that Hanmi at the time had brought to you personally,
Right.
to in order for that money to go to MVA so that it could be funded. So
Yeah. So right
yeah.
now it's suspended, right?
Yeah, right now
So
it's
now
suspended.
we're going back to that year again, where the administration is in control of making sure that these are being paid. Or, I mean, how does MVM plan to market? I see your marketing right now is at 7.3. So how do we pay that?
Our request is to reinstate
Right.
the 15% tax collection at the hotel to be sent to MVA. And so
Yes.
at this point, because it's been, I don't know, 10 years already since it's been 15%,
Right.
the industry expects it. And so I understand the point of lowering it to be competitive, but it will handicap us if we don't have enough funding to be able to support all these programs that we really need to be able to market us, to bring us back up to where we need to be. And that really is all of the CNMI benefits if the tourism industry is healthy.
Right. So how are we marketing to Japan now with the trend? It was mostly to Hawaii, Thailand, Korea, China for one. How are we? Where are we at with that, and how much we need to invest in Japan to get try to even get that market back?
Currently, as I understand it, our Japan marketing representative office is funded through CBDGDR because we just don't have enough local funding to pay for it. But there's just so many restrictions tied to that, and it doesn't allow us to do the traditional tourism industry, travel industry projects. So with this funding to be restored, it's gonna allow us to really go out full force and compete head to head with our regional competitors. There are competitors. There are friends, but there are competitors.
Right. Are we still participant of the STEP grant, the state trade export? Because I know tourism was one of the main markets in that STEP grant under commerce. I know they just recently applied, but I'm not sure if the MVA is a part of that. That's how we get our grants here from. Okay, I'll clarify that with the Department of Commerce. Rep PJ.
Rep, so Nicholas had a
I think
question.
I had a follow-up. Sorry,
You had a
Rep.
follow up. Go ahead.
So Nicholas.
I yield to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. However, no, even though you get on 90% of my questions, no, asked already, but I'm just gonna. He took all my questions. So Anyways, the HAL funds is already been suspended for how many years? Like 2 years, right?
Since basically 2020.
2021, yeah.
No, 2021. Because we did
2021,
have some funds
yeah,
that came in
yeah.
from the quarantine.
You guys know if that one will be unsuspended soon or?
With the governor's budget submission for 24 requests that it be unsuspended, reinstated, so that we can get back that money. Because right now we're getting zero.
Right. So for the municipality of Rhoda, Tinian, do they have any access to the art funds? Because I believe this is the MVA is very, very helpful with all the festivities across Commonwealth.
Yes, sir. They
So,
do.
yeah.
We have 2.5% of our share goes to Tinian Mayor, 2.5 to Rhoda Mayor,
But
2.5 to.
do they have access to it?
Yeah. What I don't know today because they have zero. We're getting zero.
No. What if it's there's a
Yeah.
what if it's unsuspended?
Then yes, they
Yeah,
do have
they
access.
They do access.
It's a direct
Right.
transfer from our bank account to their bank
Awesome.
account, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they deal with it how they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing yourself and myself. I yield for now.
Thank you, Representative Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Rep. Ato.
Just a follow-up question, Magic Director, regarding the DR money that MV had received. Was it an application process to DR, or did Jay just give you guys the $7.1 million or so, 7.5?
It was an application, but how we get payment is we submit all the invoices, and then they process the check.
Okay, so if it's an application process, you guys should have the ability to amend your application, correct?
I don't because the individuals that are actually involved in this grant are all they're no longer working for MVA, but our understanding is that was a grant that basically it was not just one grant, but it was a grant where there were multiple agencies that were involved, and so our portion of this huge grant money was $7.5 million. They had the first government agency to draw basically starts the clock on the 2-year timeline. And that was in January of 21. And I don't even know which agency drew. But what is that? So we only have basically until December of this year. But we have gone out for some waivers and for an extension. So we were part of the application process, but we weren't an individual applicant. It was kind of like a bunch of agencies. And this is our understanding because nobody who actually worked on the actual grant is currently working at MVA.
Wow, do you guys have the application that you guys submitted though?
Oh.
Because
Sorry, I believe it was NMHC that wrote it for us. They just asked for several information to come up with the marketing and promotional activities. If you remember, it was also a tourism waiver. This is the first time that HUD implemented a tourism waiver under this grant.
okay, now I'm pretty aware of this grant. I had to sit through this whole process before the grant even got here, listening to everything about it. But I'm not not professional by any means on the grant. But one of the things that I know with the grant that qualified the tourism industry is because of the effects of Typhoon Yutu, right? And so with that, and you guys have heard that about that airline that they actually tried to take your money in this grant. Recess, you want to recess? So you want to go off record? We can go off record on that.
Short recess.
Okay.
Public, now we're back, and the vice chair has the
I yield
floor.
my time, Mr. Chanaki.
I now recognize Rep. Angelo.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon, MBA. I think I'm going to yield on my question. I don't want to kill the vibe right now. However, I will be remiss if I didn't share. I just want to throw it out there that my office is planning a curbside market over in Cagman Community Center. I believe it's going to be the first event that Cagman would ever have. I think we're starting off at a small scale. However, we're planning on um, eventually building up the capacity. Only reason why we're starting off small is because the space is limited. Um, I was, I mean, I've seen uh, so many people in our community that showed interest in starting up this event. I'm actually aiming on looking at like families that specialize on certain dishes and stuff like that. So this would answer Representative JP Sablon's question as to local food and stuff like that. So uh, I hope we could maybe see how we could collaborate and when the event expands. Come again? Man, with this budget hearing that's going on, we were actually anticipating June 30th this month. However, I think we may have to extend into maybe July. Yeah, but we're looking at starting at least every other Friday, so that'll be like twice a month. So um, and I just want to thank SNIO Chairman in advance for his assistance. Thank you. You.
And that's for our night market, right? That you're
I'm sorry. Yes, it'll be for we're looking at 5 to 9.
5 to 9.
Yes, every other Friday. That's correct.
Thank you, Rep. Angelo. Any further? Being there's none, I did review the budget proposal and what the administration done. So we're gonna have to call back MVA at a later date. We need to just clarify some questions with the administration on how to go about and what's the plan with funding the marketing. Um, and I'm sure there's issues, no. But we'll clarify that first. Being there's no further question with regards to MVA submittal, I'll offer back the floor back to you for any closing remark or statement.
Thank you, Chairman and members of this committee. It was very good dialogue that we had this afternoon. I appreciate the open discussion. The team especially has been working very hard throughout COVID when there were almost zero tourists. So we're slowly building back up the tourism industry. It is very challenging to do. We want to do a lot of things, but it's very challenging to do it without adequate funding. And even if we do get back the 80% of the hotel occupancy tax, it's still not enough, honestly, to be able to compete really headstrong against our competitors. If we want to elevate ourselves to be a world class destination with world class attractions, we really need a lot of money. And if you look at Guam, they're asking for 29 million. Our request is for 12, not even half of what Guam has. Honolulu, Hawaii just spent $62 million just for the west coast of the US. Doesn't include their budget for Japan or any of the other countries that they market to. So we really do want to ask for your support. We really need it. We really need it. And coming back to the MVA after throughout the COVID period, I'm overwhelmed by the expectations and the workload that the MVA has on its backs today. And I want to thank the team really truly on all three islands and our partners in the industry that have just chugged along. They've been losing a lot of money. The hotels are losing a lot of money operating their facilities at less than 50% capacity. It's not healthy. And so, with your support, we can bring back our tourism industry. It's going to take time and a lot of effort, but the most important thing that we need is financial support. So I just want to thank you guys for your time. It's a lot on our plate, but I know that I know all of you in here, and we appreciate the open discussion, and we are open again for more discussion. It doesn't have to be in a formal setting. You guys are always welcome to visit us, and please, we'd like to visit you guys individually and collectively so that we can continue this discussion. We can tell you what our needs are, what's happening in the source markets, what our competitors are doing, so that we're all on the same page. I think it's really important. I just want to thank you all again for that. And I don't know if anybody else here wants to say something. But other than that, thank you, Chairman and Vice Chairman, Vice Speaker, members of this committee. Nothing further.
Thank you, Executive Director. With no further discussion or question, I now move to adjourn. Thank you.